What's up, guys? Tim Little. Welcome back to Tactical Bass. In today's video, we are talking about springtime bass fishing, but we're talking bait finesse. BFS, my favorite baits to help catch those finicky bass as they move shallow in the spring. So what is bait finesse? Now this is a word or a phrase that it's kind of new to the US market for bass fishing over the last couple of years. But bait finesse, BFS, bait finesse system, is a finesse fishing system developed overseas. It's been around for decades, downsizing your baits and being able to throw the lightest baits, but on bait casters. So if you guys have followed along the channel, you guys have heard us rave about BFS for the last few years. In fact, the last I cast, there was so many bait finesse rods, new bait finesse reels, new baits. You know, yeah, there was a lot of minnows, forward-facing stuff, but bait finesse was the second biggest category. And main reason, it's fun. You can take your favorite techniques, downsize the baits, downsize the line, and throw them on full-size bait casters. It is so much fun. So in fact, if it wasn't for the minnow shaking or the strolling technique, my spinning reels would be collecting dust on the rack. I can cast farther. I have no line twist. There are a lot of benefits to throwing your favorite baits on a bait caster. Those are just a few, but the muscle memory, whether you're throwing an 8-inch swim bait or a 2.75 swammer, that muscle memory is still the same. We're no longer flipping that bail, throwing that spinning reel out there, flipping the bail, checking the drag, and then switching hands and reeling, right? Now we're just chucking and winding, chucking and winding. It doesn't matter if it's an underspin or a crankbait or your favorite senko. It doesn't matter. It is so much fun. So today I wanted to talk about my favorite techniques for springtime bass fishing. Now this bait finesse, or BFS, I'm just going to refer to it to BFS from now on through this video. BFS for me shines from now all the way through like July, right? These fish are coming up shallow. We have fish in all three stages. They're coming up shallow. Lighter line can play, can pay huge dividends if you're fishing a clear water reservoir, crystal clear water, highly pressured lake. Here on Chickamauga, downsizing your line. These fish have seen all of your normal size baits. They've seen your normal size line. So downsizing line, downsizing your baits, and then like I said, you know, pressured water, pressured fish, crystal clear water, and line shy fish is where this really comes into play. Now, you've heard Matt and I rave about this system for the last few years. Now, for those of you guys that don't know what this system is, I kind of explained it. Downsize baits, whether it's hard baits, whether it's soft plastics, whether it's your favorite Ned rig. The light bulb moment for me, and we're going to talk about the first bait here in just a second, because I have like 5 or 6 baits that really stand out for me. The light bulb moment for me was I was fishing Chickamauga like 2 years ago. I was fishing this shallow flat, lots of branches and little brush piles and stuff that had been blown in through the early spring storms, right? Kind of flooded it up on the flat. So there was a lot of like stuff. And I was throwing a power shot. I was flipping and pitching a normal sized beaver style bait, and I didn't get any bites. Went in the rod locker, rigged up a little 16th ounce Texas rig, little 16th ounce Texas rig, a 1/0 hook, and a little cross style bait. Again, I'm going to talk about these baits here in just a second, but I went to town. My first pitch, dunk, 3-pounder, dunk, 2.5 pounder, dunk, 2-pounder, 3-pounder. And I just went to work and the light bulb went off. Like, these fish are either line shy, They're highly pressured fish. They're finicky because they just moved up into the shallow water, but they didn't want that full-size profile. And man, I've been loving this setup ever since. Now, talking about that, the first time I ever saw it in action was a couple years prior to that. Matt and I were up north. We were fishing crystal clear water. We were actually waiting for some buddies, and you guys might even have heard this story from Matt. I know we tell it all the time because this was the major light bulb moment. But we were sitting in crystal clear water, 8 or 10 foot visibility. Can see bottom crystal clear. I mean, you can see bottom as far as you could see. Gin clear water. And we're in a marina, and you can see these bass cruising in and out of the docks. Well, Matt had been playing around with this little bait right here. That is the Mega Bass Karashi, one of the hottest baits in the fishing world the last 18 months or so, okay? If you're not strolling or doing forward-facing stuff, this was a bait that was really hard to get your hands on. So we're sitting in that marina, and we could see the fish. Pulled this little guy out and systematically caught every single fish in that marina that we saw. Now, these are highly pressured fish, crystal clear water, and it was like, holy cow. And it's not just the way these fish eat this bait. It reminds me a lot of, you West Coast guys will remember the first few months of throwing glide baits, right? When these bass have never seen a glide bait that could directional change or go side to side. They're used to just tracking a straight swim bait. But do you remember how violent and how aggressive those fish would hit a glide bait? Same deal. It's like they've never seen it before in their life. And if they don't get hooked up on the first bite or the second bite, they're eating it over and over and over again until you're it is so much fun. So the first bait that I want to talk about is that guy right there, the Mega Bass Karashi. Now, this is a bait that is either, it can be categorized as like a topwater / hard jerk bait. It's a slow sink bait. It's a fairly silent bait, but it's a twitch bait. You work this thing really twitch, right? Twitch, pause. You're walking this thing like it's a fleeing bait fish. And these fish just come unglued. Now, this is a bait that you can throw on you can throw all of these techniques on a spinning rod, but the benefits of throwing it on the bait finesse system or a BFS setup is how easy it is to work this bait. Twitch with your reel or with your wrist, not your elbow. If you're sitting there doing it with a spinning rod, you got to shake your whole arm. But being able to walk this thing like you would your favorite topwater bait with a bait caster is what makes this setup so special. But the Karashi, I've never seen anything like it. Like I said, the best way to compare it was if you were one of those guys that got your hands on a custom glide bait or a small, like a River Sea S-Waver or something that was early on. These fish hadn't seen any glide bait action before, and they would just massacre that thing. I put that right there in that same category. These fish haven't seen anything like it. Big fish eat it. Small bluegill, crappie, any type of predatory game fish, freshwater. I haven't tried it in saltwater, but freshwater, smoke that thing. The Mega Bass Karashi is a bait that you must try. It is so much fun. Again, you can work it super fast and that thing's skipping around, darting around on the surface. You can let it sink a little bit. It is a slow sink and twitch. And these fish just get curious and they just go for it. Or you can fish it a little bit slower. Let that sink down in the water column and just twitch. Okay, we'll talk about these combos here in just a second, but I want to talk about the baits because that is the most important deal for me right now. Next up, for me, my number 2 BFS bait for this time of the year. I mean, this goes without saying, this is 12 months out of the year. And I 100% of the time now throw my Finesse swim baits on a bait casting setup. Guys, I'm not exaggerating when I say I can throw this thing farther than I could with my favorite spinning rod setup. I can launch this thing on this combo right here. That's 7-pound fluoro. But I've caught up to almost 7-pound smallmouth. I think the biggest smallmouth I caught last year was 6.8, 6.7, just under 7 pounds on a BFS setup. Again, crystal clear water, long casts, but more importantly, throw this thing over here in the grass. Little roll cast, right? It's just that same muscle memory. I'm gonna get caught up in the parking lot. Whether you're throwing a big old swim bait or the tiniest of underspins or finesse swim baits on a guppy head, being able to make roll casts, make backhand flips and pitches. You know, these fish are coming up shallow. So I'm wearing polarized sunglasses. I'm covering a ton of water. I'm looking for brush piles in the water. I'm looking for stumps, laydowns, that sort of stuff. Come up to docks. I can make little roll casts up to the docks, under the docks. But now I'm fishing that swim bait just like a normal size swim bait. So 100% of my finesse swim baits, whether it's a 2.8 Kitech on a guppy head or a little swammer on an underspin, 100% of them now are on this combo right here. It's easier to throw. It's more comfortable to throw. When you set the hook, you straight up jack them. You got reels now that have good drag systems that can allow you to throw 6 and 7 pound fluorocarbon, and you just hit those fish like you're throwing a big old 8-inch Huddleston, and it is so much fun. But downsized line, again, I don't have to worry about the line twist. I don't have to worry about flipping the bail and just all of the nuances of throwing it on a spinning rod. All right, so number 2 is that guy right there. Little 2.75 swammer paired up with an underspin. That is, goes without saying, that is our tactical mini underspin. Has the longer drop arm. You know, we designed this thing a couple years ago with that longer drop arm so that blade will clear the belly of any of your favorite finesse style swim baits, whether it's a Largo shad, whatever it may be, a Mayer, something with a little bit taller, more shad profile, bigger belly. This blade will clear and it will still rotate. You guys know how much I love an underspin this time of the year. Adding that flash, adding that vibration makes your bait stand out of the thousands of real shad swimming around, silver sides, threadfin, whatever it may be. But now they can pick out that blade and that vibration, jack them on that bait finesse setup, and it is so much fun. Next up, I want to talk about this little, specifically this little guy right here, but more importantly, cranking, finesse cranking. You guys have heard us talk about that now for Lord knows how long, several years. But this is the little Megabass Griffin SR. A little bit different sounding bait. Again, a Megabass bait, so you get that Japanese fit and finish. It's not really a square bill, it's more of a rounded bill, but it's a shallow running, downsized, craw profile crankbait. And you guys know how much we love throwing shallow running square bills this time of the year. When you can downsize your bait, when you can still get that bait down there rooting on bottom and deflecting and getting those directional changes, it matters. It makes all the difference in the world. You know, we love our Roccos and the ATVs and all of those normal springtime deals, but being able to throw a little micro crankbait on a bait caster, again, making those roll, you know, backhand casts, roll casts, flips and pitches, being able to throw this little guy around those stumps, around those shallow rock piles where these fish are pulling up to, matters. I can't tell you how many big fish we've caught on BFS when we hadn't got bit on the traditional regular size stuff, guys. So hopefully you guys can feel the enthusiasm, because if nothing else, understand throwing BFS gear can take a below average day when you're catching below average fish and 1, catch more fish, 2, catch bigger fish, and 3, make those below average fish seem like bigger fish, because you're peel and drag, you got that rod loaded up to the handle, and it just takes and makes that day so much more fun. But that little guy right there, again, we'll link all this stuff down below in the video description. You can see that's a beautiful little craw pattern right there. This thing works great in creeks, little shallow backwaters. That is an awesome, awesome little bait. But throwing that karashi, throwing that underspin, throwing that little square bill, little crankbait are my top 3 baits. Number 4, and then we'll kind of interchange the 5th and 6th one. This guy right here. Now, you guys probably saw me fishing a traditional 5-inch senko in crystal clear water, catching giant fish just recently, right? I was throwing that 5-inch senko. Again, they're packed with salt. They're a little bit heavier. I was actually throwing that on a 610 medium X-Pride with a Metanium DC, the new Metanium DC. That DC allows, it just helps with throwing those lighter baits and helps with backlash issues. On the flip side, you can take your favorite, whether it's a Corrado BFS, an Aldebaran, the Daiwa PX, whatever it is, put yourself some 8 or 10 pound fluorocarbon, put it on your favorite 6'10" to 7'2" medium light rod, and go throw your 5-inch senkos. Go flip and pitch. You guys know how well that bait works. On the flip side, that 5-inch senko can be a little bit heavy for a true bait finesse rod, right? We're talking like a 1 power, a 0 power, light, medium light. These things are extremely light tipped. So if you're doing so, go to that 6'8" light X-Pride. And again, we'll talk about combos here in just a second. Paired up with a Corrado, that actually says 6 pound fluorocarbon. It's actually a 7 pound fluorocarbon. But this guy right here, this is more important. The 5-inch thin senko, okay? You get the same great action of a traditional 5-inch senko. You get the same great colors, but it's a downsized, thinner profile. This thing is lights out wacky rigged, okay? I'm still using the little bands, little VMC bands. That's a number 5. Again, I'll link all this stuff down below in the video description. Show you my little wacky box right here. It's a number 5, and that is a Hayabusa weedless wacky hook. One tip with this guy, this hook right here, it comes with a fluorocarbon weed guard. I actually trim those down just a little bit, makes them a little bit more stiff. With that lighter senko, when we're fishing around grass lines or around dock pilings or around stuff, having that little bit stouter weed guard, that fluorocarbon weed guard with that light senko just makes it more weedless, okay? But that is a phenomenal setup, right? I just backhanded that thing like, say 25 yards, okay? Again, I'm out here fishing in the parking lot, but got the launch ramp blocked. But you guys can see, hopefully you can understand the benefit of being able to roll through a bank and flip and pitch, and not have to worry about all that spinning rod deal. But that guy right there is lights out. So that's my number 4 springtime bait finesse bait. Now, number 5, I got 2 of them for you. Totally depends on what you want to do. If you want your favorite Ned rig in a craw or a beaver style bait, so much fun. Again, we all know the power of the Ned rig. We all know the benefits of throwing a Ned rig, especially in those craw baits, right? Whether it's that little Great Lakes finesse. Show you this little craw right here. You guys know that we love having that blue flake in the springtime. That's a killer bait. Have a good day. Whether it's a whatever favorite craw you like, that X-Zone Stealth craw, that thing is lights out. And then we have that TRD bugs, right? But having your favorite Ned rig craw bait, TRD craws, on that Ned locks. This guy right here. It is a weedless setup. But again, being able to take your beaver style pitching baits and hit the side of the gun of the boat. Being able to flip and pitch your favorite downsized beaver style baits is amazing. I told you guys that light bulb moment when I was fishing that flat here on Chickamauga, I went through and I'm like, what in the world? 3-pounder first pitch. Like, I just fished all of this. These fish clearly know what a normal sized beaver is. They clearly know what a normal sized D-bomb is, right? The other one, this guy right here. You know, you guys have probably heard us rave about this for the last couple years. Got a little bobber stop on there, a little 1/16 ounce tungsten weight, a little 1/0 owner rig and hook, and then a little creature. That's the Stealth Creature by X-Zone. They have a entire BFS bait finesse lineup, but that little creature, having those little appendages, if you want a light Carolina rig, light Texas rig, this thing is lights out. Again, we're throwing it on a bait caster, right? We're flipping, we're pitching, we're slow fishing. Our favorite areas, we're just downsizing those packages and catching larger than average fish. And again, you don't have to worry about catching these fish on 7-pound line. You know, I thought that I would, but 7-pound line, if you ask Matt or I, we've kind of settled on that 7-pound. 6 can be a little light if you're fishing around that stuff. 8 can be a little bit bulkier to cast. 7-pound, whether it's that Daiwa, that Hidden, or Sunline, the Finesse or the Sniper 7-pound has been awesome. But when you actually hook these fish and you reel down, you jack them like you would on your favorite flipping or pitching setup, and you just hold pressure on them, these fish come out of the grass. They come out of the dock more often than not. You don't have to worry about horsing them out like you would if you were flipping and pitching with your favorite 65-pound braid pitching and flipping setup, right? These fish just come out. With that light line, you hit them hard and you just hold pressure. And guys, it is so much fun. Some of these reels have little clicker drags. Again, this is a technique that is not new. It's been overseas, Japan, for a long, long time. Highly pressured waters, highly pressured fish, having to downsize. You know, we see a lot of these techniques coming from overseas, Japan. More importantly, these finesse techniques, because they're having to think outside the box, right? We see the dice, we see those weird looking baits. This is not a new technique. It's newer because the availability of rods and reels was so limited here. But now, the last couple years, man, the amount of rods and reels that have hit the US market as BFS gear has been amazing, and it is so much fun. So let's talk about some of the combos real quick and then we'll wrap it up. All right, first combo I'm going to talk about, let's just go right here. For the longest time, one of the main reasons that BFS didn't take off here as soon as it did overseas was just the price point, right? Some of these rods and reels were upwards of $1,000. It gets insanely expensive. With the boom of BFS here in the US market, there have been several companies that have brought or made BFS rods and reels. Starting off with Cashin. Cashin is a US made rod. This is their Element series. So it's their budget friendly series, and they have a whole BFS rod design. This is the Element. This is the 610 medium light. I think it's around 120 bucks or so. Again, American made rod. This rod is phenomenal. Pair that up with a Shimano Corrado BFS, put some 6, 7, or 8-pound fluorocarbon on there, and you can throw almost all of your favorite finesse techniques, whether it's a Ned rig, whether it's a little thin senko, whether it's a little crankbait, whatever it may be. For about 300 bucks, you can have a phenomenal bait finesse combo. So that guy right there, again, we'll link all this stuff down below in the video description. But up until this last year or so, there hasn't been any really good budget option. Actually, not even just good, any budget options, matter of fact. Some of this stuff is so expensive, but that is an awesome, awesome combo. Sticking with Cashin, this rod, this is in their Icon lineup, okay? Still their Bait Finesse BFS system line. This is the 7-foot fast light, 2 to 8 pound. Now this rod is very parabolic, and you've heard Matt and I rave about this rod specifically for throwing the karashi. You can throw this on your favorite spinning rod, you can throw it on your favorite BFS rod, but if you want a rod that gets more action out of your bait, this is the rod specifically for that karashi. Because as you're shaking it, the way the taper of this rod and the way it loads and unloads faster than you can with your wrist. So it's like reverberating, right? So it's giving that bait all sorts of extra action. And again, that is key when you're working this thing fast around those aggressive fish. These fish just come out of those laydowns. They chase this thing all over. They just get so crazy over it. It is so much fun. But that guy right there, you'll see that I have braid on a lot of my BFS reels. Being able to throw 5-pound braid, 6-pound braid, 8-pound braid, I mean, we're talking hair thin, so thin, and then putting a fluorocarbon leader on there just allows me to have more casting distance and more sensitivity. But that is an awesome, awesome combo. What else? It's really hard to beat the 6.8. This is an X-Pride 6.8 light. Again, paired up with a Corrado that does say 6-pound. That's actually 7-pound on braid. But that is a universal rod that you can throw all of your favorite BFS techniques on. It is a little bit more pricey than the Cashin. You know, you're getting a little bit lighter rod, a little bit more sensitive rod. But that is an awesome, awesome little finesse rod, BFS rod. And then we talked about the Element Dobbins. Dobbins rods, they have a line as well. This one specifically, the Sierra series, this is a 7-foot 0 power. So those of you guys that are used to understanding rod numbers and powers of rods, my favorite drop shot rod is a 2 power. This is a 0 power, right? So it is super parabolic, but you can still jack them. You can throw your favorite little crankbaits on it. You can throw your favorite little treble hook baits, little blade baits, but throwing that thing out there, jacking them hard, and then, you know, catching 2 and 3 pounders at will and having that thing peel and drag and loading up, it is just so much fun. But Dobbin has a good line of BFS rods to choose from. That is that 700. I really like that one. And then last but not least, if you are a guy that wants to get into the upper price point, the higher end side of things, combos here in the US market, the Mega Bass Destroyer, the P5 Pop X stick is a phenomenal rod. Again, it's made for throwing their little baby Pop X. It's great for throwing little treble hook baits, little jerk baits, little tiny jerk baits, and I have that paired up with the Aldebaran BFS. Now again, if price isn't your issue, if budget's not your issue, this is a phenomenal BFS setup. But again, you can get away with that $120 rod with a Corrado and go throw the same bait on there and you will catch fish. But sensitivity, weight, this thing is a feather in the hand, and being able to really dial this reel into throwing super lightweights, you know, 1/32, 1/64 of an ounce. This thing you can really dial in and you don't have to worry about backlashes. But guys, Bait Finesse, I can't say it enough. It is so much fun, and it has all but almost eliminated the use of spinning rods for me. Unless I'm skipping Senkos back up under laydowns or docks, I want to get way back there, I'll still use a spinning rod. You know, if I'm strolling, hover strolling, mid strolling, whatever I'm doing, I'm still using that. I'm using a spinning rod. But otherwise, finesse fishing, it's Bait Finesse. Jacking them hard, lighter line, downsized baits, and just getting more bites. It is truly remarkable how much fun it is and how these fish just haven't keyed into the downsized baits yet. They really smoke them. But guys, I'll link all this stuff down below in the video description. If you haven't tried BFS or Bait Finesse, I highly recommend it. If you're a guy that's a stickler and wants to keep throwing those spinning rods, these baits will work as well, but try downsizing your line, try downsizing your baits, and you guys will catch more fish during the spring. As these fish are going shallow, they're in those different spawn phases, I promise you, you will catch more fish downsizing your baits. As always, guys, we appreciate the support. If you like this video or learned something from this video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and we will see you guys on the next video.